Hey, Scott, your home office is looking really nice.
Thank you so much. I've been working really hard on it.
You have any interesting wrestling treasures there?
I sure do. I have a bronze Roddy Piper Hall of Fame statue.
Is that from the real Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Wrestling treasures we actually care about today on Pro Wrestling Palskis. Hello and welcome to Pro Wrestling Palskis. How are you, Scott Narver?
I'm doing well, Jake Lloyd Bacon. How are you?
I am doing great. That was a very, very long delay. I think we may be having technical difficulties right out of the gate.
Look, I'm in a house of people that just stay home, who love the outdoors, but stay at home and use the internet all day.
All right. Well, it seems like right out of the gate, we're at an impasse. Do we stop and try to correct this, or do we wait? Or we just deal with the long delay in responses?
I'm not having one on my end.
Oh, okay.
So.
You know what? You're back. I feel like you're back now. Everybody joining us in the live stream, thank you so much for tuning in. If we have some issues, we might have to disconnect and restart up the stream. We'll see how that goes. It's a live program. Anything happens. Just like pro wrestling.
Unless it's Sunday Night Heat.
Why? Because that was not live? I feel like there's so many shows.
Because nobody watched it.
Oh, okay. Got it. I was going to say there's a lot of shows you could have jumped to for that. It seems very specific to go to that one.
It was.
Anyways, it is, what is it? It's Thursday, the 8th as the time of us recording this. Lots of stuff going on as usual. It's only been a few days since we did this last, Scott Narver. How was your 4th of July?
4th of July was mellow and fine. And this is not a movie podcast, but for the first time ever, I watched The Marine.
Oh, the original one? The John Cena one?
Unrated.
Whoa. Does he get naked in it?
His tits were out the whole time.
Ooh, you saw his nippies? I say free the nip. That's what I say.
I say close them up.
Close them up?
Close them up.
Close the nipples up? I don't know that.
Close them up.
All right. You know what? Why am I going to argue it? Did you enjoy The Marine?
I did. It is trashy and junk food for the 4th of July, because I was like, do I do Jaws? I do Jaws like almost every year. And I was like, And I was looking through and I go, what's something that seems like it should be patriotic but maybe isn't, or just 4th of July theme? And I'm going through and I go, all right, I've never done any of these. Let's do it. Let's do The Marine. And man, have you ever seen it?
I feel like I did. I feel like I might have seen both the first and second, but I'm struggling to remember. I went through a real like WWE Studios phase where I was like, I just want to watch all these movies they're making and see if they're any good. But I also might be confusing it with the Rounds one.
12 Rounds.
Yeah, I definitely saw that. Maybe I'm thinking of that.
Maybe. This one has Robert Patrick in it, which is pretty cool. Like these were the short of this. So we'll talk about this like in more extensive detail at another time. But they legit try. It's a movie.
Right.
The really funny thing about it is, though, it becomes a horror movie.
It doesn't start a horror movie?
No. The Marine becomes the Jason Voorhees or the Freddy Krueger, like, as it goes on.
Interesting.
Because this movie goes, all right, so his wife's kidnapped and you were invested in the character in the beginning and you see their relationship. We're done with that, though. Now we're just going to hang on the villains. And we're going to talk all about the villains. And this one guy is going like, oh, you always blame the bad guy. And then this person always does that. The ladies always want to beat up the prisoner, and it just stays on them forever. And then when you see Cena, he just shows up and murders these people that you've been hanging out with and getting to know, and you're like, holy fuck, he's a he's a deranged killer now, but you know he's trying to get his wife back, but in no way does he try and stop them or work with the cops or anything. He's just out on a vendetta now, murdering. And it becomes a lot.
That sounds kind of fun, to be honest with you. Although Sushi Pants seems to also have a vendetta right now.
She does. She has a vendetta specifically against this gun club armband that she has found in my wrestling treasures.
Oh, all right.
And has claimed it as hers, and I'd hold it up to the camera. But if I did that, she'd claw the ever-loving shit out of my hand.
Understood. Well, before we get into all of that, let's chat some news.
Let's.
Plenty of stuff has occurred since our last sit down, including, we always talk firings, retirings, and hirings. I like the hiring section. That's the feel-good one. And we've got one of those.
Oh.
Tommy End, a.k.a. Alistair Black, now being called Malachi Black, debuts in AEW, attacking Arn Anderson and Cody Rhodes. Black apparently was
Road
able
Rager specifically.
to appear so quick. What?
At Road Rager.
At Road Rager? Was that the name of the event?
Yeah.
Oh.
They had NXT did Great American Bash, and so they did Road Rager because it was their first time on the road. They were in Miami.
I don't even think I caught that. That's what it was. Well, apparently, Black was able to appear so quickly due to a clerical error by WWE. This is kind of hilarious.
Wow.
Apparently, they never updated his contract from NXT to main roster talent. Therefore, he had only a 30-day no-compete versus the 90 days that the main roster talent usually get. So he was able to appear in a rival company somewhat quickly. Sushi Pants. I think that's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
What do you think of the name? I'm not a big fan of Malachi. I feel like just call him Tommy End.
Well, geez, you have to talk to Excalibur about that and his fucking ongoing origin story that he gave him on air. That was the most confusing and awful thing to do. I envy those who were there live, who did not have to endure what butchery. We talked about JR last week.
Yes.
It's all about Excalibur this week because JR did a really good job.
I'm going to disagree with you on that because I watched this with Alexandra and she was like, does he even care about JR? Because at one point JR says Tommy End or wherever his name will be. And I think, and I get that. And she was like, didn't he get a note? Did someone not pass him something? Because to me, that feels like maybe put a little bit more importance on a person's title, like what they're calling themselves. And for him to just be, it was the tone. It was just that like, whatever his name will be.
But you have to take the entire context of it because for this one, JR probably has what he's called. And it's like, well, you didn't say his name. So fucking Excalibur starts it with, that's a man I wrestled 15 years ago in Dusseldorf, Germany.
Yep.
Okay, well, I guess that's a plea for everyone to check out your YouTube page, but no one's going to do that. I put this out for the hotline. Anybody, if you've never watched Excalibur wrestle before, did you start after seeing him on AEW? I'm just curious if anyone has. So he says that, and he says, that's Tommy End, but that's not Tommy End.
Right.
And then Jared's like, okay.
I heard that.
He's attacking and doing this. And he goes, yeah, but that's not who he is. That's not Tommy End. And Jared then just jumps in like, all right, well, might be Tommy End or whatever he's going to be known to be as. Like, he's clearly a threat. And then he goes, yeah, but that's Malachi Black. Why the fuck would you know that? You don't know that.
Well, again, this is bad storytelling.
No, it's bad commentary.
Sure, but what I'm getting at is earlier, I think the same day, if not the day prior, Tommy, Alistair / Malachi posted a like vignette on his social media where he's talking to like a shrink or something. And he keeps like asking like what his name is, and then the guy says Malachi, and like it's something that apparently was like a reference to something that WWE
Did you watch it?
No, I like read the
No. Okay,
transcript.
I watched it.
Okay.
I watched it. So that's not what happens.
Great. Tell me what happens.
He's in an insane asylum, and they keep saying his name's Tommy, and he's like, no, it's not. And they're talking about his eye, and he goes like, yeah, because I got slammed on the stairs. So like that never happened. So he's doing a full fucking Halloween like movies 2 through H2O and beyond like don't exist. That never happened to me. I was always here. And then there's that dude who did the raps, I think, that rap you really liked about this like fantasy Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I forget his name.
He's in there too. And so they're all talking, and then Malachi Black murders the doctor.
Oh.
So he goes like, no. No, I never got my eye stepped on in WWE. That's some horse shit. But I do murder. And then he gets himself out of the insane asylum, and then he's Malachi Black.
Well, there you have it. Thanks for the clarity. In any case, I wasn't thrilled with Excalibur or JR, but last week we had a whole conversation about what to do with JR, and you mentioned that that AEW gave us something.
He did a sit down discussion with Darby Allin and with Ethan Page, and it was in real time.
Wow!
It was just like, we have a situation here. This seems like it's getting really serious, and then they talked about their history between them, so you got to know about their history, and you had to have JR in there giving the emotional weight of going like, I think this is going to get very dangerous.
Right.
And they played off of what he was doing. So they flat out did a very shortened version of, hey, you remember Sean and Brett when he did that? Okay. We'll do that with JR. And it was good.
That's fantastic. I checked that out. I did not watch all of the show. I just kind of watched when I heard, that Alistair debuted. I was like, oh, I got to watch that. I love that guy. Well, fantastic. We got some title changes. We got some kayfabe news. The team of Zoe Stark and Io Shirai became the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions at the Great American Bash, defeating The Way with a little help from the returning Tegan Nox. I think that the NXT Women's Tag Belts are a great idea in theory, but I feel like we keep putting them on two fantastic singles competitors instead of a tag team. But I guess that's just going to be how developmental works for the most part.
Yeah. More toys to sell.
Right.
So did you watch the Bash?
I did not watch it yet. I didn't get a chance with all of the happenings around here, but I was looking forward to doing that today, and I still wasn't able to get to it yet.
Well, spoilers.
Some unfortunate news here. Former NWA World Heavyweight Champion and WWE Hall of Famer, the fantastic, legendary Terry Funk, has been recently moved to an assisted living facility known to be one for people who are suffering from dementia. After Don Morocco mentioned on a podcast that might have been the case, this message was posted on Funk's official Twitter account. Quote, yes, Mr. Funk is currently receiving residential care for his multiple health issues, which do affect his mind as well as the rest of his body. As you can imagine, some days are better than others. He and his family appreciate all of your kind words forever. It's just such a hard thing. He's just such a fucking fantastic dude. But also one of those guys who it's kind of amazing he's still alive to begin with.
And I know he's endured a lot of physical pain and this and that, and we don't, we're not privy to a lot of that. Thankfully it's not exploited in any negative ways, but he's been through a lot, and hopefully he gets as much time as he can and can feel as good as he can. It was nice to see Eddie Kingston come out for the street fight, and he was, wearing a Funk shirt and clearly
awesome.
Just trying to put it out there. And I think Pro Wrestling Tees did like a micro brawler, a special thing that the proceeds are going for that. So just seeing people trying to do what they can for Terry Funk, because we love him.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah, he's like, I feel like Mick Foley is like everybody's fun wrestling uncle. And I feel like, Terry Funk is our fun wrestling uncle's best friend who we like just as much, who's always around. Like, I feel like I have that sort of connection to him.
Mm-hmm.
In very different news, during this week's episode of AEW Dynamite, a lot of AEW chat, a fan attempted to get in the ring as Chris Jericho was coming out for his segment with MJF. I mean, I can't believe this is still happening. Although I guess alcohol exists, so maybe we guess it. Maybe it's not that big of a surprise.
Yeah, why is this that crazy?
I don't know.
There are still bouncers at a bar.
Yeah, but this is a show where a bunch of grown men pretend to fight each other. What are you that angry about?
With Jericho? I mean, is that what our episode's about today? Because I feel like we could fill it.
That's a good point. The fan made it onto the rampway and ripped his shirt off, apparently looking for a fight. Security jumped in and tackled him, and tackled should be in quotes, because security was not able to get the guy down and off of the ramp right away. He was a big boy. This is a real big boy. So while security had their arms around the guy, Jericho came up to the edge of the ropes where he could kind of reach him and punched him square in the face, and which helped them kind of get the guy down. MJF then welcomed any other idiots willing to jump in the ring so he could do the same to them. And MJF, like a goddamn pro.
Fat idiots.
Yes.
Fat idiots.
Oh, fat idiots. Right. Don't jump the barricade. I don't know why this is still a thing that
jump the barricade. I fully endorse it, please, because it makes it exciting. Like it makes sure that it's like this isn't scripted and we're not doing stuff like you gotta react and do stuff. And MJF did and Jericho did. Although I don't think he understands what year he's in and that people have cell phones and this will lead to a lawsuit at some point. It's not the old days, buddy. You can't just keep punching everybody.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any fan cam footage of this yet. I've only seen the live broadcast, and you saw a little bit of security, and you saw Jericho go for a punch, and then they cut to the crowd right away.
The fan cam footage is like somebody that's on the same side as hard cam, like a couple rows back. So it's pretty, it's shitty quality footage, but it's pretty clear. Like you can kind of see everything that's going on. But don't do that, ladies and gentlemen.
Do it.
You know what else you shouldn't do? Drive under the influence.
What's that?
It's not good. Not safe, not smart, really stupid, irresponsible, generally a bad thing to do. Jimmy Uso, real name Jonathan Fatu, was arrested for a DUI in Pensacola, Florida, on Monday night around 10:30 after he allegedly ran a red light while being clocked at 50 miles per hour in a 35 mile per hour zone, according to the police report obtained by TMZ. So this is a hot reporting by TMZ. 30 mile zone, baby. This is far out of the TMZ, by the way. This is like all the way in Pensacola. It's not even the same state. I digress. The police noted that they smelled booze on the 35-year-old, so they asked him to exit his car. Once he got out of the car, he was noticeably swaying. The police claimed that Uso had told them he had consumed, quote, multiple beers before getting behind the wheel. He failed the sobriety tests, and his blood alcohol content breath tests came back at 0.202 and 0.205, which is higher than Florida's legal limit of 0.08.
Do you blame him? All the things that are going on with his family. There's Roman, his cousin, being the head of the table, telling him what to do, turning his brother against him. Paul Heyman is involved. Like, of course he's going to be drinking. Kudos to Jimmy Uso for keeping it real, keeping the believability back in wrestling. I love it.
Please, I beg you, don't take any of the things that Scott says seriously. Do not condone drinking and driving. Anyways, where was I in the story? Does it matter? Oh yeah, he was released from jail. Oh, he was booked on a misdemeanor DUI charge. In addition to citations for speeding and running a red light, he's released from jail after $500 bond, which, by the way, not enough money for that thing, in my opinion. It's the second time within the past 2 years that he's been accused of drunk driving, as he was arrested for also a DUI in Pensacola back in July of 2019. So, every
wasn't that
2
the
years,
thing where he got out of that sweepstakes? Where that like win a trip to Universal Studios and hang out with the Usos and Naomi. Like he'll spend all day, and then nope, fuck that. I know how to end this real fast.
Well, he had to go to court. That's what happened, because that same year, he was like found not guilty by a jury, which interesting. In any case, multiple reports say that WWE is thoroughly unhappy and contemplating whether to bother moving forward with any of their plans for the Usos.
Oh yeah, right. Like this is really going to affect someone negatively.
Dave Meltzer
in WWE's programming.
Meltzer noted on Twitter that the decision of what to do with Jimmy is expected very soon, but apparently the last time they were ready to just let him out of his contract and release him, and they opted to give him another shot. So, we'll see. The company has not made a statement on either, their opinions of him or the actual event itself. So we'll see, or we won't see, and it'll just never be mentioned again.
Or look out, Jay. Vince will fuck it up and fire you instead, and you wouldn't know.
Oh no, we wouldn't know either. They could honestly just switch. They're not identical twins. That still fucking weirds me out. The fact that they're not identical twins. It's very, very, very bizarre. And so
they just got to stop. Now is the best time. Like now, if you do see them, you go, I can tell the difference between you because of the styles of your hair and just the general look of what they're doing.
Mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah, stop having the identical haircuts and facial hair and go, we are not identical twins. Well, don't make it seem like that you are.
Yeah, and stop wearing the exact same Oshkosh overalls your mom got you.
My girlfriend has twins and my nephews are twins. They don't all dress alike. They don't all have the same hair. They specifically make it a point to do that. Right. And one set is fraternal, one set is identical.
Andrea Beeler in chat says, shocking they never address it. As much as I love Jeff, they never really addressed his stuff until he decided to. So yeah, that's kind of a good point. But also I think it's much different
It was
era.
a story with Punk.
Well, way later though, but yes.
You're talking about that era? And then it was like, I set my dog on fire.
I don't think he said that. I don't think that's a direct quote. You might be paraphrasing.
He had a t-shirt. It was a whole thing.
This is not news, but sometimes we like to talk about silly shit in the news segment. Paul Heyman updated his Facebook profile photo, and the internet went bananas. Sometimes the online wrestling community is just a fun, zany place to be, and sometimes I feel like an exhausted uncle visiting his nephews and nieces who's just ready for a break from it all. So he updated his photo. Actually, I have the picture here. I can show it to the stream, the people watching.
How are all these people friends with Paul Heyman? That's what I want to know.
So it's a photo from when Reigns fought Lesnar at WrestleMania 31, and it's Reigns on the ground, gasping for air, with Lesnar looking up maniacally at Brock as he destroys him up above. And everybody's like, oh, Brock's going to come back, and this is foreshadowing. It's like, or he just really likes this picture of himself because he's a really good picture, and he put it on his Facebook profile.
So wait, where'd you put this photo?
It's available right now on the live. Like I'm streaming it to the live feed. Okay. So I don't know if you're trying to watch along or if you're trying to conserve your internet.
I am. Oh no, I'm using it all up.
Great photo. Don't think that it's the reason to jump into conspiracy theories about Brock's return.
That photo right there is him specifically looking at the Jimmy John's logo and thinking about which sandwich he's going to get.
Oh man. He's like, do you think they use the meat of all the endangered species that this guy hunts?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's so affordable.
Well, there's that. The last piece of news that I have, I know, Scott, you might have a couple things here.
I got a couple things, yeah.
Real quick, MLW, we don't really talk about Major League Wrestling a ton here. I enjoy it every time I catch it. I don't really tune into it religiously, but every now and then I'll see that they have a special or a battle royal, and I'll read something. I'll check that out. They've got a decent production. Like, if you could at least make something look nice and professional, then, I'll give it a shot. Anyways, they announced that Dave Prazik has joined the league's Office of Wrestling Operators. Prazik is one of the most successful women's wrestling promoters who founded Shimmer in 2005. And he is going to be focusing on spearheading the launch of MLW's women's division, which is set to premiere this summer, a specific MLW women's division. Of course, MLW streams free on Wednesday nights on their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Major League Wrestling.
You see, of course, I don't think that's ever been mentioned on the show.
I think we mentioned it like 2 years ago when I caught our Battle Royal that I really liked. And I was like, man, MLW put on a really fun Battle Royal.
Whenever they show that show.
Yeah, that's all the news I got. You have anything interesting?
Yeah, I got a couple things. CM Punk has now had his win-loss record changed from UFC 225. It has now been ruled as a new contest because Mike Jackson he tested positive for marijuana,
which just makes things worse because he just got beat by a guy who was high.
Hey, he was just real calm, you know. All of Punk's moves didn't make him freak out.
Honestly, it's still fucking astounding to me that any professional sport is testing for marijuana as if it does anything to give a competitor an edge. This whole thing going on about the Olympic runner, it's just fucking insane to me.
And then also, in astounding news, AEW's Tony Khan commits to a second barbed wire death match.
No, with the the exploding ring or the barbed wire death? I think I might be conflating the two.
Well, here we go. In a Tuesday interview with Dan LeBatard to promote Wednesday's Dynamite in Miami, AEW President Tony Khan said the company will do another exploding barbed wire death match in the future, despite the pyro failure that marred the ending of their first one. Khan blamed the failure on using professional pyro personnel who didn't understand wrestling, unlike Tony Khan. But he was trying to be too safe. Quote, "They totally shit the bed," Khan said, adding that he didn't pay the unnamed company who refunded the $100,000 for the expense of the match. Khan didn't clarify what the alternative was to using a professional company to handle such things in the future, but wants somebody that knows wrestling. Quote, "They screwed up royally. All they had to do was set off the final explosion. And again, it's because we had to use professional pyrotechnic people."
This is ridiculous.
I don't know what pyro people he knows that he buys his Coke off of, but he's out of his mind.
I mean, it's decisions like this and these things that come out that kind of make me fear for AEW as a company. Like, do you think that AEW has a shorter shelf life? Boy, that was tough to say. Because of the sort of Wild Westian style of Tony Khan.
100% not at all.
No?
Because it's the same as Dixie Carter. As long as someone's giving the money,
right?
No, it'll forever keep going. As long as that person can get money, it keeps going on. Right.
I get it. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like these are the sort of things that if I was an investor, I'd be like, why? That's a bad business decision. Like, don't do that.
Oh, you wouldn't want to invest more money into people blowing up in the ring?
No, especially if your reasoning is, we need carnies to do it, not these professionals.
These people are just too safe.
Yeah.
We need danger. We're going to get more people in the crowd.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And we're going to
bring them closer. Can we bring them closer to the ring too? Is that possible? Can we make the area in the ring smaller?
And we're going to get Moxley out of there because he has a kid now. So he's going to be a total puss about the whole thing. So he's out. We're going to make sure that Eddie Kingston has no family at this point. We know he's very close with his mother. We're going to put a hit out on her. And so
hit out on her.
We just know that he'll have nothing to lose and just want to be as exploded as possible. Is that a thing?
Yeah. Mess Llama in the chat just writes, quote, "Our mistake was hiring professionals?" And then just a ton of question marks. Like, yeah, that's a ton of question marks is the appropriate response to that.
Mm-hmm. Andrew Beeler says, bring Nick Gage in. That'll make sure all professionals are removed from the area.
Oh, my goodness. You have any other fun stuff for the week?
That is all I got for the week.
The main topic this week is wrestling treasures we actually care about. Scott Narver, have you watched the A&E Most Wanted Treasures, whatever the fuck this WWE show is called?
Boy, it's a real selling point there, but no. I have not.
I just watched all of it while working the past couple days. Some episodes I pay a little bit closer attention to than others. Not a bad show. Not a bad show at all. It's the guy that they got, AJ, who's one of the the NXT guys and the Performance Center guys. Real charismatic, nice guy. There's a lot of moments in the show that's just wrestlers hanging around telling stories, and that's what makes it great. The entire, quote, hunt for these treasures, which they've clearly already located and are simply just going to get them, that angle should have just been... I don't know why they decided to frame it the way that they framed it. This could have just been like, hey, we're trying to get a fucking, WWE Museum or Hall of Fame, whatever the hell we're doing. So we're going to go get all these things from...
In the warehouse.
In the warehouse, by the way.
It's just going to go in the warehouse. They're claiming everything back.
Right. But again, it's not an unentertaining show because watching people just sit down and tell stories and reminisce about the things that these items revolve around is really entertaining. Specifically, the Foley episode is really fun. The Taker/Kane episode is really fun. The Andre the Giant episode is the standout as the best. For some reason, it's twice as long as the rest. It's like a feature length, and they leaned more into like documentary footage and stuff about Andre, since they clearly discovered people that had all this footage and photos that never got out. So it's like, hey, there's some stuff in there that you've never seen of Andre. So that's really fun. But I digress. There was a lot of things in it that just make you scream because they're poorly acted fake reality TV show scenarios where for some reason AJ's like doing an interview about Charlotte, unrelated. And right at the time that we were going to join him, Ben from the fucking archive comes in and goes, hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you got to check this out. The robe that we've been searching for 25 years and are doing a show about just happened to pop up on eBay for the first time ever. And it's like, all right, this is fucking, and they're terrible actors. Really bad.
And there's a whole bunch of stories that have come out about this show from the, I guess, like pro wrestling collectors,
right?
Not just these sports entertainment WWE collectors that a lot of them go, I don't want a lot of that. No, I want actual wrestling memorabilia.
Right.
I want XYZ and all these things. And so they still have acquired a lot of stuff, or they have a lot of things, or they said like, we want the A&E people are calling them and asking about, do you have any of this person, this person, this person?
Right.
And they all go, fuck you. I don't want to be on your WWE show.
Right.
I don't much like Britt Baker. She had an amazing promo on Dynamite where she burned Tony Khan and said like, you're accepting your blood money. So why don't you do the next Dynamite in Saudi Arabia?
Oh,
and so
fantastic.
people were saying shit like that. It's like, I don't want to be associated with this company, the Trump, the this, the that, the other, and just nope. And so they've gotten to the point where they've gotten that it sounds like the first season is, yeah, we want to get all these people that are still alive that we know exactly where this thing is.
Right.
Because a lot of other stuff we just can't, it's not even it's not even doable.
Right. And yeah, it feels that way. Like none of that is a surprise to me as somebody who just finished the whole series. Like, yeah, that sounds about right. And again, the fact that they never, with the exception of the Flair robe, it was the only one where they did a good job of even faking the hunt for it. Like where they were like, oh, we're going to go. Flair thinks that Darius Rucker might have won it in a charity event. So let's go check out. And it turns out that's not the right one. And it's like,
yeah,
even though
Ric Flair would keep track of shit like that. He only knows which ones his ex-wives took.
Yeah. Well, and again, that sort of stuff, like there's definitely, plot problems in that, like Conrad Thompson, like he's already said like, oh, nobody knows what this is. Every collector's been looking for it for years and nobody's ever seen it, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, I think Darius Rucker has it. Like, well, if Darius Rucker is such a big fan and collector, wouldn't Conrad know that he had it as well? I digress. But still well-made show. Looks fun. Some of the collectors are really fun. That GWC guy or GCW, whatever his name is, greatest. Yeah, GWC, Race Wrestling. he is like a cartoon character. He's very funny. Whenever they go to his place to try to get him to do something, he's just charming. And the fact that it starts with like him meeting Foley and all he wants in exchange for like a Sacco is like hey, can my kids come over and just like hang out with my kids for a little while? That's great. The Jake episode also is a fantastic one. Really, really, really good episode.
Jake episode.
Yeah, Jake the Snake Roberts. They did an episode with him. And
really?
Yeah, and it's really, really great. And
AEW's own Jake the Snake Roberts?
Mark Henry is also there hunting with Big Show for the Andre the Giant stuff.
But that would have been filmed beforehand.
Of course. But I guess, but yeah, and again, it's a well-made show, and they seem to not care.
That's how much shit they couldn't find. Is half the shit is from AEW.
Well, no, I was gonna say he has Conrad Thompson has an AEW like all in or all out fucking turnbuckle in his corner. So like I don't think that they care as much with this stuff. But anyways, it got me thinking about my own like shit that I would care about, because a lot of the stuff that they went and found, I was like, all right, cool. Like there is some really unique stuff, and a lot of it is like one-time only stuff. When they go to Taker's, warehouse or his storage unit,
graveyard.
Yes, the graveyard of his old wardrobes. And they're going through his thing looking for the his purple gear. They come across like a little pouch that had his like Phantom mask in it, and like to me that's really cool. It's like a very short amount of time from a specific era. There's only one, at least that's what they allude to. Things that are one of a kind, like those things that are kind of unique. Those are the things that I kind of thought were really cool. And the show is like, it's like American Pickers. It's like those sorts of Pawn Stars shows where it's, they conflate the interest of any specific item, but some of them actually got me like, oh, I would actually really like that. Like that would be a cool thing that I would own. I wouldn't pay an absurd amount of money for it, but it would be a cool thing to own.
Such as
like that mask.
What is something on the show?
Such as like that Taker
Yeah,
mask.
Is there anything else?
I mean, any of Jake's snake bags, that seems to make a really cool thing, especially if there was a specific one. Like if you could find the specific bag from when, the Cobra bit Macho. I feel like that would be something I would be really into.
Okay.
Because they found one of them.
That's not what they searched.
No, they found one. Yeah, they found.
Really?
Yeah, they found one of his bags at that GWC guy's place.
There's no way that Jake the Snake Roberts held on to all the bags and went like, I will categorize each one of these.
He didn't.
In between drug use and.
Well, the only thing that he lent his expertise to was like, he remembers changing the quality of the bags at one point because they were hurting the snake. It was like the fabric, so he had to change. So he was like, if it's a specific fabric, I could tell whether it was I used it. Also, he had a specific way of tying it so the snake wouldn't get out. So he would he would alter the ties. So that was something that was interesting. Like Foley knew specifically, like, I would do a specific thing to my gear because I didn't like the way it fit me. And so if I find a version of something that doesn't match that, I know it's not real. So there was like, I think having the wrestlers be a part of the show.
I'd love it if
is the saving
Jake
grace.
was this the bag that you used this for SummerSlam? And he's like, I don't fucking know.
Right.
Jake, if you could do that again, but
Sure.
just maybe say yes or something. I don't fucking know.
Andrew Beeler in the chat says Kane's first mask and ring gear was really cool, which I agree. The one he used when he debuted against Taker at Knoxville Civic Coliseum. Being from Knoxville myself and going to W
Is
shows
that
there.
like real hard edged mask?
and
like real like angular?
Yeah, and they were searching it. They did not find that. They found like the second one that he had on him, and they couldn't find the first one, at least from what I remember. But
because Andrew Beeler probably has it.
Yeah, probably. But so anyways, is there anything specifically? We actually talked a little bit about this once on a bonus episode years ago. And I have an answer then that you guys all laughed at me about, and I still kind of have it, because the reality is I couldn't even tell you what it looks like. I haven't seen it in so long, but I feel like my answer then was the bag from the Terry Invitational that the Hardys and Edge and Christian fought over that had that supposedly had like the 25 grand in it, because it's a thing that ties together like four of my favorite stars of all time, and it's something that really kickstarted an entire career. And to me, that is like something and that's what the show actually kind of inspired my thought of like, oh yeah, there's 100 different flare robes and tons of boots and all these things, but like, what is one from an event or from a specific era that actually kind of, has some sort of prominence over other ones? And I feel like that is a stupid item that I would be like, yeah.
So those 4 stars are obviously Edge, Christian, Jeff Hardy, and Terry Runnels.
Yeah. Who'd you think I meant? Who else could have possibly been?
Nobody. All right. Yes, I do remember you saying that now, and I feel like that's just any bag that's used in a Hamburglar
exactly
photo promotional shoot.
But also the story behind it is probably great, and I have not researched it or thought about that beyond us deciding to do this topic 20 minutes ago. But I feel like sometimes the story is also interesting, like how they came about it, whether or not they just went and grabbed some fucking thing that day. Also like just like the ridiculous shit that the prop people would have to do and come up with last minute. Like there's always some fun stories there, but do you
Here you go. No, put a $sign on it so people know. Oh, all right.
Do you
Does it have a $sign on it?
See, that's the thing is I think I do remember it having a money sign on it. I'm gonna look up photos right now and see if I can't find it. But I do think I remember it having $1, like a big money. Like I think it was like a cartoon bank robbers, thing.
So Jake, typing in tit money bag WWE doesn't bring the results that you want.
Great.
Because it was the Terry Invitational Tournament.
Yeah, it was Terry Invitational. Yeah, I'm struggling to find it in a Google search.
It was a No Mercy 99.
Yeah, let's do that instead. No Mercy. While I'm looking for this, do you currently own anything? Do you own any piece of wrestling memorabilia?
So other than like merchandise?
Yes. So actual...
I wouldn't ever consider that like nothing you bought from a store. Is some historic thing somewhere. And I think I mentioned this on that other episode was, man, was I really close to just going, if I took this, I'd probably hear something in a few weeks, and even still, it might not be that big of a deal.
Which was a whole set of wrestling stairs?
Probably this equal amount of value. If you melted it all down, like the metal might be worth as much. The Global Force Wrestling World Championship.
Right.
At the Slammiversary that we went to, I think it was a title unification. And we were backstage and just there's a lot of shit going on, and Del Rio was weird. But the second that was all over and done with, he just fucking throws that title and it's sitting on a bin. It's sitting on like an equipment bin backstage. Backstage is not very big, so there's a lot of people directly around you. But at the same time, I'm dressed at that moment where I could look like any of the crew guys. And all the crew guys kind of, like I dealt with a fair amount of them from being there. And they might think that I'm using it for something. Like they could probably clearly trace it back going like, I saw that dude that was here for doing the interviews and stuff. Like he had it. And maybe I get a call from someone like, hey, did you fucking take that belt? But turns out like right afterwards, lawsuits galore, tapes deleted and lost.
Right.
All this shit. Like it was just a non-entity. But to me, it was a fascinating belt of a promotion that almost really occurred.
Right.
That could have been in contention, not like at number 2 or number 3, but it was going to be something. And it had a decent looking title, and a couple of people of note had it. And I was like, but now that I didn't take it, now I really want it.
Right. Of course. There's a regret there.
Yeah. But not the regret of like, oh, I should have taken it and backed it up at any point when someone goes, what are you doing?
Right.
It's okay. I'm going to go wash it.
I mean, that is the sort of thing, though, that if you did take, you'd never be able to display publicly in a public format without somebody being like, well, that's the guy who took the thing. Like there's a lot of
But I think there are 3 people that'd be like, why'd you fucking take that? And everybody else would be like, that's pretty funny.
Sure. You're not wrong. Like the list of people who would be upset would be a short list.
It would be Jeff Jarrett, and maybe that's how I'd blackmail him that he did his fucking podcast with me instead of Conrad Thompson.
Oh yeah,
and then
there you go.
And maybe that's it. Maybe that
was
maybe
it.
that is entirely it. Even Karen Jarrett would be like, "That's pretty funny, Jeff. You got to admit." And Kurt Angle's like, "Whatever to take that fucker down another peg."
I found the only photo I could really find. And it's
okay.
You're hard pressed to even really see the bag. I have it up live in the feed now, and it's like a white bag, and it's just with the light. Maybe it had a money sign on it, but it's really, really difficult to tell whether or not it actually has a dollar sign on it. Maybe my memory is escaping me. If we weren't doing so many things on my computer, I would just play the video. I bet you if we watch the match, we'll be able to find out whether or not it did. But yeah, I mean, here, I'll make it a little bit bigger so that people can attempt to see when I zoom in on it. Yeah, it's still really, maybe it had a dollar sign on it. Maybe it's just a white sack. I don't know.
So the only one that I could find, I found the one from Twitter where they're posing with the bag post-match.
Oh, interesting. That was on Twitter?
It's clearly a 2-sided bag, and they're just holding the one side.
Right.
So I will just put that in the doc for you to see.
Oh, great.
And then
do that.
And
then I can throw it up for the people in a minute here. But anyways, is there a specific thing from history that you have like an attachment to, an item from wrestling history that you feel like, no, this is a thing that I feel is important to a specific talent or a storyline that I love that you would want to own?
It's tricky because my mind goes to title belts. My mind goes to masks.
Okay.
Beyond that, I like when you say the TIT money bag, I go like, oh yeah, that's unusual. And I can't think a lot of those because I think like, oh, Mr. Sacco or something else. So not a lot comes to mind, but the first thing that came to mind was a mask, and I would think a Mankind mask would be pretty cool, but at the same time would probably be absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and apparently there weren't that many of them. And so
that sounds about like Mick.
Right. And so I definitely feel like if you did get your hands on one, it would be kind of awful.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it would be under glass,
I think that's the thing that's
right?
sort of interesting. Right, of course. And you'd Febreze the shit out of it. And I think that you're right. Like belts, masks, any sort of like entrance gear, like obviously robes or jackets. I would love, like a Hitman jacket. I think that would be fantastic, especially if you could find one from a specific event. The Hitman jacket that he wore on the way to the ring in the Iron Man match, like that specific jacket. I mean, that would be one of those items that I would think like, yeah, like here's a moment in time that brings generation, like, it brings like these two stars of the generation together. That's like a real tentpole moment.
Yeah, that's a good call. That is good. And I'm trying to think like, oh, what ring jackets? And then my mind went, well, Cody had that one on Dynamite yesterday. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Further.
The one that made him look like Homelander from The Boys. Sure. Yeah, and I feel like, I do feel like there's a lot of things, you and I are going to go probably to the 80s and 90s for all of the nostalgia just because of our age. And I definitely think that like, as silly as it is, like any of the props from the Macho birthday, was it the birthday or the wedding party? The wedding party.
Oh yeah, the wedding reception. Yeah,
with the snake in the box. Yeah, like any of those props from that event specifically, that would be a fun thing to have. For the like, here's another example of like thinking outside the box. For the which is another really good episode. Again, there were a lot of good episodes. There were a lot more good ones than there were bad ones. The Jerry Lawler episode.
How many episodes were there?
I want to say that there's 9 or 8, maybe.
Okay.
The Jerry Lawler episode, they tracked down, meaning they called the guy that they knew had the neck brace that Andy Kaufman wore on the on late night with David Letterman. Like that is that's a fucking item. Like that is just that sort of kind of outside the box thinking of like, yeah, stuff that's unique to a specific appearance.
Right. And okay, that's got me thinking. Oh, okay. I tell you one I'd want.
Yeah.
That I feel like I could have anywhere. I wouldn't have to worry about keeping it under glass or doing anything like really pristine with it.
Right.
I want the hard hat that Hulk Hogan wears in the Pile Driver music video.
That is a fantastic one. I mean, A++.
Bright yellow.
Right. And also
it's like the hair he always wanted.
And he probably had once at some point. He went bald when he was like 14 years old.
Could have been a baby. Just like, oh, all the hair's in the back for some reason.
Yeah,
that'll work out. Don't worry.
They were showing photos of Hogan when they brought together the Dream Team. There's an episode with Brutus the Barber Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine. And they were showing old photos of Beefcake and Hogan. And Alexander was like, look at Hogan. And I was like, yeah, I know. That's what he looked like before he was completely, like he was still balding. Even in the earliest photos of him as a, fucking wrestler and bodybuilder, he was balding. But it was kind of jarring.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's a great one. Stuff that's specific. I'm trying to think. You got me thinking of stuff outside of wrestling that a wrestler specifically did, whether it be stuff from commercials. I definitely think this.
I was trying to stray away from movies because movies is like, that's something a wrestler had for a movie, but is that wrestling memorabilia specifically?
Right. It's a whole other thing. One thing that I really thought was kind of awesome and just a unique item is in the Andre episode, they really wanted just one of Andre's passports. Just because he was such a world traveler. And I was like, that is really kind of a really cool, unique item. I would say, honestly, like a personal item of like at the top of like Stone Cold's game or like the Attitude Era when they were just everywhere. And it was just, I mean, they're always everywhere, every fucking version of wrestling, with the exception of the pandemic. But like the idea of like something like a passport or something that a collection of plane tickets or the sort of thing that like acknowledges like the time spent on the road is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would you want like a collection of like a row of Thunderdome screens? Like,
I would take a Thunderdome screen. I bet you that makes a great fucking additional
No, they
monitor.
only come in like batches of 5.
Listen, I already need to have a 2-monitor setup just to do these broadcasts. I feel like I get a Thunderdome, or I could put a Thunderdome screen behind me, right? And then we can have one of the people who
the
watch
sad part is if
on that screen.
If you used it as another monitor, it just shows a WWE fan with their forehead like right at the top of the screen there and just going.
Yeah, let's do Thunderdome. Let's do our Thunderdome impression again. This will be a second time. Ready? Clap. Don't forget to clap.
I'm watching wrestling.
Oh, at some point somebody had to jerk off on the Thunderdome. I'm just saying.
What? Isn't it every time?
Is that in the fine print? Is that a must?
Every time they get the special, they get like a McConaughey or somebody when they don't have kids in the shot. They're jerking off.
Great.
They're hacking it. Like that's why people put the little piece of tape over the webcam. So like, oh, someone might be watching me. No, the WWE is specifically hacking in to try and put you in their Thunderdome.
I would pay upwards of $50 for a piece of the Thunderdome archive, like that library of footage.
Mm-hmm.
I have things that are not necessarily important to the history of pro wrestling or iconic moments. I think out of everything that I have that I really kind of enjoy is I have, it means more now that he's gone, but I have a piece of a table from a Balls Mahoney match in UCW.
Oh, right.
And I have a lot of little chunks of tables that people would sign. Like I have like a, Dynamite Kid table, not the one you're thinking of. I have, the guy that ran the thing, Jack Sabbath. I have some of his. I have Loki and Xavier. They did a great match in ICW years ago. Not Xavier Woods, a different Xavier.
Macho Man Randy Savage,
who recently,
piece of table. Not that Macho Man Randy Savage.
Also, by the way, I just realized,
and not that kind of table. It's a different type of table.
I forgot actually that Xavier recently passed away as well, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, but yeah, like having a piece of a table from Balls match, that's fun. I don't have any. I tend to not take big things because I go like, what am I gonna fucking do with this? So back when I was working or going to indie shows, I would try to get things small. I have a few of Mikey Whipwreck's t-shirts because he would always buy a t-shirt with a dragon on it. He would buy like a tacky fantasy t-shirt for that morning, wear it to the ring and then get rid of it and throw it to a fan. And I have a few of those where I would just snag it from him. He would be like, here, hey, take it. I would love, and again, these are something that maybe there were so many of them because you could buy them at the stores. But if there is a specific pair of like Hitman glasses that he wore, there had to be a match at one point where a heel hit him before he could give his glasses away. I want those glasses wherever they are. Like I want the ones that didn't make it to a kid's hands.
Okay, you got me thinking. I like that. I'd start a collection because I'd want the Mounties. Like his taser, his big shock stick,
right? Yeah, his like.
And
his,
I'd also want the one. I'd also want the one that Scott Hall used on Goldberg to end the streak.
Oh, yeah.
At Starrcade, like I'd want.
Right.
I want both of those.
I love that idea. Like, and again, like that's the thing too. Weapons, right? Just generally. Any like kind of.
I was thinking about some weapons, like you wouldn't want a hacksaw Jim Duggan 2x4. That's gonna get fucked up. Someone's gonna use it or recycle it or something. You're like, no, that was a special piece of wood. Like, what are you kidding me? A nightstick from Bossman would be kind of cool, but that's why I think like the two tasers that they had would be really cool because then you could put them in a case together. It's like, what is that? Like, this was the Mounties, and this one ended Goldberg streak. Like that one's significant as a piece of wrestling history,
right?
For being an unusual prop,
and it's also kind of an iconic moment, right? The end of the streak, like it marks the end of the. Like there's anything that you can tie like a change of the guard to, whether somebody losing or winning. Like Andrea Beeler in the chat says she would just want anything of Edge's. She says she didn't even matter what it would be. I feel like
the bed sheets from the live sex celebration.
You beat me. I was like, yeah. What about those pillows? I feel like, in all seriousness, though, what about one of those? Again, assuming that there weren't just 100 of them, and that you can tie one to a specific. This is the one he wore the night of. But any of the ridiculous hats that him and Christian wore, the big giant cowboy hats. Like something like that.
Sure, yeah.
That would be a fun item. Maybe the original Money in the Brief. A kazoo, a mouth-used kazoo. I think that might kill her.
What if you had the first kazoos that Edge and Christian used? That'd be kind of cool.
That would be fantastic. She says, "Oh dear God. Okay, maybe not the sheets." She says,
but she didn't say no to the pillows.
Didn't say no to the pillows. Oh, I never do. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like iconic things that specifically to Edge that aren't exactly that aren't just a title or, he's always had fantastic jackets. His ring gear is always cool looking. I mean, like the Rumble return jacket, that would be a specific jacket that I would be like, yeah, I'd throw that on a mannequin if I had the room, throw it in the bro. You know what I mean? Like, just because it's such a
big 45-pound leather jacket.
Yeah. I mean, I wear that shit just around town, answer the door in it, like little Nate from the Nature Boy episode of W Treasures. He mentions he answers the door in the lion robe, the jungle robe he had.
I can imagine you answer the door, the Amazon driver pops open and goes, "You're a rated R superstar?"
Oh. What about something from like the DX era? Like DX was known for having a shtick. They always had a gimmick. They always had a thing. Is there
want their salami?
Is there anything? Oh, the salami. I think it's gone bad by now. Is there anything that you can even think of from like the DX era that would be unique? Like the only thing I can think of is like the podium from the press release where they read the things they're not allowed to say, because I feel like that's such a fun.
Oh God, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want a podium.
It's a bit much, but it's the first thing that came to mind. Oh, maybe like the bullhorn that they used when they went to WCW.
I could see that being intriguing for people. That would be one for me where I'm like, nah, I don't want that. I don't want a bullhorn, because then it's like, well, then do you want a Jimmy Hart bullhorn? Do you want this bullhorn? Like, yeah,
right.
I totally acknowledge and see the significance of it, but
right.
That also wouldn't be for me.
Right. You know, reverse engineering the whole thing. What is like one of your favorite moments in wrestling? And maybe we can find something from that moment. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I'm trying to think of this. Like, I'm trying to think of those, moments where the guys that I love now got made or things. That's kind of where I came with the Terry Invitational bag, because I was like, oh, like that. I remember just that was the height of my fandom, and like that immediately was a huge fan of these guys, and like was sort of like the spark for it all. Speaking of which, Andrew will be there.
Truly one of my.
I was just going to say really quickly, Andrew Beeler in the chat to that note says that I nailed it, that the Rumble return jacket is so sweet. That would be the item, because the return means so much to her. And I have to agree. Like it's not just about the item and the person, but it's about the moment.
So you would also want Batista's nose ring?
Oh, he probably saved that. Those things are expensive.
Which one? The one that they tried to palm off, or the other one?
I want the tattoo machine that gave him the little belly button, son. That's what.
Is that what the guy's name is? The tattoo machine who gave it to him?
Yes, that's the guy.
One of my favorite recent moments, like recent wrestling moments, is Double or Nothing, the first one, Cody versus Dustin Rhodes, that match. But I can't think of anything memorabilia-wise that I'd want, because it'd also be covered in blood.
Other than, and that there was a lot of that on the A&E show, where people were like, oh, it's got blood on it, that makes it better. And I'm like, that's kind of gross. Although I will say there is one thing that it's just kind of funny to me, because King is a collector himself, not just of wrestling shit, but just pop culture. He's just
Coke material, like yes. He loves that.
Yeah. And also the drug. He talks about it was a Rock versus Austin at a big event, and I'm struggling to remember which one, where Austin's just gushing blood, and Rock throws him into the announce table and like mashes his head into the announce table, and all of King's notes got Austin's blood smeared all over him. And he had those pieces of paper, which is funny because he's got all of his bits written on it and all of his little one-liners, and then just a smear of Austin's blood across it. I'm like, because they're Lawler's notes, that's fun to me. If they were Cole's notes, I wouldn't give a shit.
I don't think Cole was doing anything, though.
No, I know, but what I'm getting at, I know that he wasn't there, but I'm saying, like, it's the fact that, like, his notes are all, like, his bits and shit. It's all of his jokes and his dumb shit, because he's the color guy. If it was, like, don't forget to plug a TV commercial, and don't forget the fucking appearance on whatever.
You say that, and that definitely sparks something. I'm not sure what they would call it in the world of wrestling, but basically the script for the night, like the show outline, for all technical cues of what's going to happen for everybody to have in production.
Right.
For WrestleMania 18.
Oh, wow. That's real specific.
Yeah. I think that would be the one that I'd want, of Just like, all right, so this intro music, the rock promo, that happens, and just having that and seeing and just reading the whole thing and looking at it and going like, this is the final draft of what it is.
Is that Rock Hogan? I'm terrible with WrestleMania numbers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That any of the production stuff, actually, that's a great, especially for nights that are important, or nights that something big happened, a tentpole moment like that, and that would be a really unique item. Although you have to assume that they're probably fairly limited. I mean, I guess as a huge production crew, maybe not, but everybody has something different. I'm sure, the fucking tech, the lighting, everybody has something that's specific to whatever it is they're doing. That's really interesting.
There's got to be one big, the biggest version of it, like the one where it's like, we need all cues, all everything must go in this, and then you take this, and then it goes to this person, that person, whatever they need.
That just gave me an idea that might be the top of my list. We've heard for years in all these behind-the-scenes documentaries that Macho would write out all of his matches on a legal pad. Yeah. I would imagine owning Macho's handwritten script to him and Steamboat. That I feel would be
what if you also see on page 3, the blueprints of where he's going to lock Elizabeth up before and after the match in the boiler room?
That's a whole other type of memorabilia collecting. But no, honestly, though, that I feel like that is, talk about a piece of history. That's a one and only thing that's handwritten by one of the greatest of all time, one of the biggest icons in the entire industry. His handwriting, that's better than a signature. That to me, anything that somebody specifically wrote out and put in the work to do themselves. Oh, I love that. I would fucking love that. That's got to be out there.
Do you think he red pens it? Do you think he English teachers himself, where he's written it once and then he goes through it and goes he circles stuff where are you taking me?
I think that they talked about that once in a special where they showed they showed images of it, but it might have also been recreations. It might have been dramatic reenactment, and I just didn't notice that. Let's see. Macho Man, Randy Savage, match script.
As you look that up, Andrew Beeler mentions in the chat, well, if you're talking about nose piercings, what about the earring that was ripped out of Jeff Hardy's ear?
Oh, no.
That'd be a good one. Or the screwdriver that Randy Orton uses in it during the Hell in a Cell match in his lobe.
What about a piece of... I think we talked about this. Is there a piece of a structure? What'd you come up with?
Yeah. I want a dilapidated boat. I want Skarsgård.
You want the dilapidated boat? Would you?
Yeah. I'd love Skarsgård would immediately be in the studio. Skarsgård would be all across his garage. I didn't put a car in here. I got a fucking dilapidated boat. By God.
Honestly, you could prop it. That would be an awesome fucking. You prop it upright, facing you. So if you were to kick it down forward, it would just go right into the water, right? So is it making sense to you, right? And then you build shelves horizontally, and it's just this bookshelf that is the dilapidated boat. That would be fucking awesome. And
then I'd even go to the extent I would be a canoe guy. I'd find a lake, and occasionally I'd strap it to my car. It's hey, are you taking this boat out? Yeah, I am. This boat seems pretty beat up. I'd say it's dilapidated. Get it right. That'd be the biggest thing I'd want to own, I think.
I'm not...
Other than, of course, the SmackDown fist. So every time I open the garage, people go, what the fuck is that?
I never knew that fist was the Big Show's. We learned about that in this television program.
Really? Because in the warehouse show, they do not say that.
He has the photo. WB took a photo of him. They took a photo like this with his fist like this to model it after. And then they sent him that photo framed. And and they modeled the fist after his old meaty fist there.
In the such minimum coverage that exists for that, in that warehouse show done by Joey Styles and the expert on all this,
right?
They did not say that, and how dare they?
Yeah, that's a fun little piece of business. Yeah, man, I can't find anything about that. That's interesting. I'm curious about where that might be. I'm talking still about the Macho Man's journaling pages. They all said it might be.
Yeah.
He might have just tore them up. Trashed them for all we know. Like they're just in a garbage fail.
Would you rather have those legal pad notes of Macho Man's about his WrestleMania 3 match against Steamboat,
This is
or
gonna get dark.
no, not as dark as you saying shit about Coke and Lawler when his kid's dead, who had drug problems, but Macho Man's rap lyrics on legal notepads
No, I want
for
the
his
match.
album of. Oh, you're crazy.
Don't get me wrong.
Think of what think of the lyrics he scratches out and goes like, no, that's not a good enough burn on Hogan. Nah, there we go. Now I found it.
It is kind of fantastic. What about the press that they used to make the WrestleMania album vinyls? Like that, the actual press that they used.
Oh.
That'd be a fun, unique item. Anything that is how they mass produce something.
That's true. That's a very good one. You do remind me of something. So I never hung it. I never did anything with it yet because I think I currently don't know where they are as why. But I started accumulating press badges from when we were doing events. That at one point turned into this is my memorabilia and I'm happy because I got whatever it was I was going to get at the show. So that was something for a while that I really dug those. I need to do something with those again because those were cool. Like, oh yeah, I got my thing.
Yeah,
so many people have this.
But
yeah, a press for
do you know
or even if it ever hit the WrestleMania album hit gold. Here you go, Jim Johnston. He's like, I don't want it anymore.
Speaking of you doing press, I do have these. I'll show the people currently watching. This is a little piece of our memorabilia. Look at these fantastic mic flags designed by myself and made by a Scott Narver and used once, I think, when you guys went to WrestleMania. From the previous title of this program. I mean, these are nice looking mic flags. It's kind of a bummer that they're totally fucking useless now, and you can't just replace the edges. We'll get stickers. We'll just put stickers over them.
I would, I'd legit say if anybody really wanted these as a piece of history of the show, I'm happy to mail them to them.
Wow, that's actually a really fun giveaway. Do you want to do like a new
do we
rating?
Only have two?
Yes, there was only two, unless you only gave me two and made more.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, I know another piece of memorabilia I have. Not quite wrestling memorabilia. It's over there. I could run and get it, but I took a Fox Sports mic flag too.
It's your severance package is what that was.
Yeah, it sure was. But yeah. If we get many requests for it, then I think we'll figure out a system of a lot of people ask it. But,
I just feel if we just go through the reviews that were made since Palski's began, right? So it's got to be a review posted since Palski's began. We'll pick one of those people at random, and if they want it, they can. They can always pass it, and we can pick a next person. But
that's a lot of work to go, hey, you want me to send these to you? No. I should just reach out social media on our Discord. Hit me up at Scott Narver on social media. I'll see that there's a notification. And if you guys want that, there are two that I know of. There might be more, but there are two that I know of for sure.
Well, this has been fun. We should start wrapping this up, but before we do, any other last minute or any other ideas that come to mind of a specific thing that you would really actually contemplate purchasing? Again, there's such
I thoroughly do. You appreciate you pulling it out of me.
Yes,
I do have difficulty with it, but you've done a good job of adding this and pulling that. And
well, in fairness, we did.
DDP's pink Cadillac would be nice.
That would be fantastic. We did decide to do this topic moments before we started, so we did not put thought into this in case that is not apparent. But I'm sure if we sat down and really thought about it or watched some old wrestling, it would just immediately pop up. it's weird because you don't want to, whether or not a night was a good night or a bad night, regardless, it was a night that was, important. I would even take like the ring bell from the Montreal screw job, like the bell that rang that ended, Bret Hart's quote career in WWF at the time, like something like that, like something that has to do with it. Because if you think about like, yeah, there was specific gear he wore, and that's all fine and dandy, and that's all great too. But we've talked about that. Like I'm trying to think outside the box, the actual ring bell, like the bell that was rang that fucking confused and really changed wrestling forever.
Again.
Yeah, again.
Because that was the second screw job that ever happened.
Sure.
Boy, wouldn't you want Zack Ryder's cowboy hat that he refused from his dad after his big WrestleMania win?
Listen, I'll take an Intercontinental title with his name on it that he won, that he took a photo with Razor Ramon. I'll take that.
That's not what I said.
What about the pair of
cowboy
pants
hat
he shot himself in? Yeah, I don't fucking remember the cowboy hat, to be honest with you.
You don't remember that amazing moment from that WrestleMania of his dad comes into the ring with him and puts his cowboy hat on him, and Zack Ryder has the most on-camera Zack Ryder, I'm a fucking intolerable, finicky nerd, and just goes like, "Get off my head, Dad!" It's amazing. It's truly amazing.
God, now you just open up a whole other can of worms about extended family members. Like, would you want something from Mrs. Dad's appearances? Is there an item that you'd be like, oh man,
yeah, Mrs. Dad?
You just want the whole man.
Yeah, Mrs. Dad.
Would you put him in a glass case?
Yeah. No, I'd let him run free.
Right. I don't,
because I know he get tired easily and wouldn't get too far.
I don't know that we're getting anything beyond that. This is fun. We'll have to revisit this. Well, let's do more wrestling treasures we actually care about. Mrs. Dad,
aka
is the
talking about Mrs. Dad.
We should wrap up this section of the show. Thank you, Andrea.
He's a wet sleeping bag. He's not a tent pole.
Thanks to Andrea and Matt Lama and anybody else who tuned in live. I'm trying to scroll through see if anybody else was in there. We appreciate
Scott
you joining
Narver,
us live.
Pro Sinkowskis, thank you for joining us.
And of course, the current reigning PWP World Champion, Zach Iafuso, aka Fusebox, he is out to sea for the next month. He wrote me an email and said he's out to sea. But I believe
the Jericho Cruise isn't running yet, you fool.
I asked him if he needed us to send help. I do believe in just a moment we're going to hear from him because he sent in a voice memo, which we've never heard from him via the Palski hotline. So I'm excited to hear that. I don't know what it is. I haven't listened to them yet.
Cool.
But Zach Iafuso, the current PWP champ, will defend his title July 28th. If you would like to be in contendership to get in that championship Palski Battle Royal on July 28th, head on over to pwpalskis.com, click the Patreon link, and become a championship Palski. And you are automatically entered into that match for a chance to become the PWP World Champ, get yourself a free t-shirt, and the title and glory of being known as PWP World Champ for a month. And you can always win again. Zach Iafuso might defend his title. He might also win on July 28th, and that's just because that's how the luck works. So please do that. Check that out.
He could start an undefeated streak that someone will need to get a Goldberg taser and take him down.
Oh, somebody have to get the Goldberg taser. Because remember, this is all about ring-used authenticity. Thank you so much to the live chat. This was a super fun conversation. We'll have to do this again because I like talking about memorabilia. I also like just struggling to remember stuff. And then when you remember it, you go, oh, yeah.
That thing. I really want that thing.
Thanks so much to everybody tuning in. Say goodbye to the live chat, Scott Narver.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
747-666-5606. That is the phone number to the PWP hotline. You can call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's always open. Leave us your cues, your comments, your thoughts and opinions, or just tell Scott how handsome he is, and you could be heard right here every week on PWP. Scott, you want to hear what we got going on this week?
Is that how people are going to win the Mike flags? Oh, I'll have to keep making more then.
Hey, Palskis. This is Chris Darius 7 from Fort Worth, Texas. It has been a minute since I called, but I'm just very glad to be continuing to listen to the new PWP, holding it down. You guys are doing a great job, and I wanted to call in and just tell you about something really cool that's been happening to me over the past couple of weeks. A buddy of mine down here in the DFW area wrote and is directing a play all about Mexican professional wrestling, all about lucha libre. It's called Lucha Teodoro, and it basically blends pro wrestling into live drama and tells the story of an Aztec, basically, promotion and the rise and fall and rise again of their hero, technical good guy. And I got to audition for it. I didn't quite get cast as a role as a wrestler or a commentator or anything like that. But they came back and said to me, hey, we need a ref. You want to do it? And I said, sure. So I'm going to be refereeing this play, which is never something I ever thought I could blend two of my passions together, live performance in theater and professional wrestling. So it's really cool. I don't know if there are any Palskis that are in the DFW area with me, but we open on July 15th, and we roll all the way through to July 24th at the AT&T Performing Arts Center in Dallas, Texas. So that's just a quick plug, but I guess off that point, the question I have for you guys is, what was something that you got to blend both of your passions together on? If you had two passions that you thought were kind of kept in separate corners, did you guys ever get to do a project where you worked on them together? And I hope the answer is yes, and I'd love to hear about it. So thank you so much for letting me chat with you guys. Keep doing what you do and loving who you love.
Chris Darius 7 from Fort Worth, Texas. Congrats on getting the part as the ref in a play about professional wrestling. That's really interesting because I've always seen professional wrestling as just a play. It's just theater in the round. So I like that it's a traditional theater presentation about a professional wrestling scenario or a company, an old Aztec company. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, that sounds super awesome. I'm struggling to remember a play that I heard about when I was on a cruise ship. It might have been a musical, and I'm just doing a quick Google search here as I'm talking about it. But that I love that. That sounds so fun, so interactive. And congratulations! I didn't know we had another actor in the wings.
And Chris Darius 7, I'm not sure that he's in the Discord or not. I can't quite remember, but if not, get in the Discord, Chris, so that you can show photos and also just share links if somebody is in your area and, maybe in our Discord as well, then maybe they can, check it out. So yeah, please join the Discord and promote that stuff in the Discord. You can find the Discord links at pwpalskis.com.
Especially if you go live on Twitch. Who's that person?
Things that have blent passions before. I mean, I feel like I've kind of been really lucky in that most of the things that I've gotten to do in my professional career kind of blend the two passions because I'm always doing more than one job. So, or like, I myself am kind of bringing the stuff together. I'm sort of the ringleader. And so not always quite the same thing. Although, you know what? I did the same thing. I played a referee in a project. I got to play a referee in a movie in which Lucha Libre takes place. It's not wildly different.
What movie is that?
It's a short film. Oh my God. I really wish you didn't ask me that.
Well, here, I'll do this as you think about it. The play that I was trying to come up with was The Elaborate Entrance of Chad Deity.
Ooh, I like that.
And I hear it's quite good.
I don't remember what it was called, but it has Tito Santana in it. And it was a fun day getting to play a ref and actually getting because he wanted somebody that he was a friend of his that was an actor, and I was like, hey, by the way, I have experience refereeing, and he was like, great, fantastic. And then I think, there was like 4 other people and it wasn't that much footage. So I don't know that I'm even in that thing. But I got to do it and that was fun.
You've never mentioned this. You've never mentioned it, even when I've gone off saying like my disdain for Tito Santana, and you've never been hey.
I totally have, because I've shown you the photo of us with me and the refs thing pointing at him and his giant hand.
I don't think so.
All right, maybe.
Or you were looking for it and you didn't have it.
Right. So outside of doing improv on a boat and getting to hang out with your best friend, Heath Slater, when else have you been able to blend 2 passions together?
I don't know if that definitely counts as that.
I'm pretty sure that's what he means.
Although I guess that kind of was like it blended into that, because that's why I kept bugging him, because it was the passion of
I mean,
curtain jerks.
If I could, I was gonna say, if I can answer for you, I think Curtain Jerks and On Your Mark are kind of that. It's blending comedy, improv, sketch with pro wrestling.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm not on camera right now, so that's also there's my dead voice to let you know. Like I can't express enough how much I think and put into those projects of how much like I truly love blending the 2 things of comedy and wrestling, because essentially, and whether or not you've grown at my jokes or not, like I'm wanting to make material that I want. As far as when I started listening to wrestling podcasts, it was very early when it was Honky Tonk Man and Rob Van Dam, and that might have been it. And those were really brutal shows. And Curtain Jerks spawned from me seeing Mark Warzeka doing at Second City. He was doing a political comedy podcast, and Mark is just a jack of all trades. Like he just knows something about everything. And I was sitting there checked out and going, boy, I'm really dumb. I don't understand any of this stuff. And then it started just going, what could I do that he has that passion for that would be fun for me? And it wasn't Curtain Jerks at the time. It got bastardized very quickly and turned into something else. But over time, it turned into Curtain Jerks, and doing it with Steve Sears and Mark Warzeka, and just coming up with silly bits and just weekly doing fun theater of the mind stuff on a show. And I mean, we talk about Mrs. Dad. Mrs. Dad lives as another entity to me, because Steve Sears, one of the hosts of that show, a fellow comedian that I've worked with forever and I love him to death, he's brought him to life, because one week when it was that Miz and Randy Orton match, when Miz's parents were in the crowd and his mom is reacting and looking scared and his dad's looking like, I don't really care. None of this is interesting. Steve just took that little bit, because I go, did you see this? And then
ran with it.
He made this whole thing, and one of the most popular characters from the show. And and same with On Your Mark. Like I just love doing comedy wrestling stuff, and those are the 2 big projects.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Johan Pena. What's going on? I have this question that I've been asking everybody I know. As you guys know, WrestleMania is going to be on Saturday. But I think it's a big issue, because that same night, there's going to be a big fight across the street in Vegas. Do you guys think this is going to cause a conflict? Because SummerSlam is going to have to end at 11. They've already agreed to end at 11 so they don't conflict with the fight. I think they should have had SummerSlam on Sunday and make it a big weekend. The big fight on Saturday and SummerSlam on Sunday. I think it's a huge mistake to have SummerSlam on Saturday conflicting with the fight. That's just my opinion. I don't know. What do you guys think? Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Johan Pena, always great to hear from you. SummerSlam on a Saturday. I did not. This is the first time hearing about this.
Well, me too. And I think I know why.
So SummerSlam is taking place on a Saturday night and going head to head with a big, it was an MMA or a boxing match.
I'll look it up and see.
Got it.
Let's see here.
About it ending at 11, I think that's great because that means it's over sooner and it's not a 9-hour event. but also I think it's a bad business idea to put it up on the same night as another really popular thing that, even though I still hate that professional wrestling is talked about in the same context as sports and combat sports, because to me it should be in the same context as other television shows. I digress. It's still a bad idea to put it up against this, because the reality is people still categorize them as the same general idea, and so therefore people are going to be torn, and news outlets are going to be talking about this in a negative light, I'm sure.
I'm worried about how much you're digressing. It's getting to be a lot.
I'm very little now.
It's a Manny Pacquiao fight. Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. I don't see it as a conflict. I don't see it as a, it's all it is fight fans having to choose, like, oh shit, do I want to watch WrestleMania that night, or do I want to watch the fight that night? Chances are they'll watch the fight and then watch SummerSlam later. I don't think it goes in the reverse. I don't think there's many fight fans that go, oh shit, SummerSlam.
Right.
Especially with, at this point, it's fingers crossed it's going to be something they pull out of a hat. They go, holy shit, I got to see that last hour, but not all the other ones. So it's not the same audience. I think there's a little bit of spillover, but overall they're so known to be an entertainment show, and boxing is boxing. So, and boxing's not MMA. It's different. Like there's the occasional time where it's going to be a big deal, but even still with boxing, oftentimes you're just watching that last fight. A lot of people aren't following the other fights, and
a lot of people are just watching the knockout on fucking Instagram the next morning.
Yeah, or they'll watch Twitter that night and see what the results are. So I think either way, like they're both fine. They're not suffering either way.
That's totally fair.
Hey, Jake and Scott. This is Zach Leofuso, first-time caller, listener since the beginning of the program. I am the champion, of course, but unfortunately I will be out to sea starting tomorrow until the end of August. So in lieu of being in the live chat defending my rightly earned title, I've decided to just pre-record a couple of these questions that y'all can play every week that I am still champion, of course. First one being, I'm looking at the design art for the new program, and it's a silhouette of two people, and they're in blue, and they're both wearing championships. But then, is that supposed to be y'all? They don't really look like you guys. I'm wondering who these people are, and are they the tag title, or are they a tag team, or are these two singles wrestlers? It's all very confusing, and I'd like some clarification. Thanks.
Oh, you would like some clarification. The champ, PWP World Champ, Zach Iafuso.
I hope he said that right.
I said what right?
He said that right.
Oh. I'm lost.
It's a gag because we didn't know how to say it a long time ago, and now he's saying it for the first time.
I get it. Comedy. Okay, so first off, he's out to sea. He still didn't say why. He might just be on the run. Maybe he's doing something illegal and he's like, hey, everything's legal in international waters.
Yeah, how else are you going to get a message in a bottle?
But he sent 4 of these, so we'll have a Zach Iafuso message for the next month for his entire championship reign. Can I just say, love this. Fantastic that he's like, listen, this is my month. I'm champion. Boom. Never heard from him before. Drops 4 messages. Love it.
I haven't even heard the other ones. They're in a vault.
Neither have I. Well, we're not going to listen to them until we record those weeks. He wants clarification on the new podcast art. I don't know what makes you think it's not us. I mean, that looks just like us. It looks just like our build. Those look just like our muscles.
I don't have a great webcam. Is that what you're trying to say?
Listen, we went through a lot of different silhouettes to decide which
A lot.
Scott and I looked at a lot of different silhouettes that I made based on different champions or different tag teams. And then we just added belts to some we, listen, it's art. All right. We just made some art.
You going to reveal what it is?
Whether or not that is us is up to your imagination. Let's just say that if it were to be Scott and I, we would likely want the smoke. But it's irrelevant. The idea is that it's a tag team like Scott and I, and they are the best at what they do, like Scott and I. Boom, mic drop.
Money Inc. It was Money Inc., everybody.
It was the dream team, Brutus the Barber Beefcake and Greg the Hammer Valentine.
I love that you only know what that team is because of the treasure show.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, that'll do it for this week's show. Again, 747-666-5606 is the number to the hotline. You can always also email voice recordings to contact@dragonwagonradio.com if you don't like or can't use the hotline number if you're overseas. You can always email your voice recordings, which is exactly what Zach Ifuso did. Zach Champ, we hope you enjoy your time at sea. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. Maybe he's a military man. I'm not sure. Maybe he's just going maybe he's got a sailboat, just going to go sail the seas for a while. Maybe he's a pirate. Open to
maybe it's
interpretation.
none of your business.
You know what? It's 100% none of my business, but I'm going to speculate it's the pirate thing. Thank you to each and every one of our Patreon Palskis. If you're not a Palski, please head on over to pwpalskis.com and become a patron. You can join us live for these episode recordings via our live stream on YouTube. You can chat directly on the show. It's so much fun doing these with people. And the more people, the better it is. So please consider becoming a patron. For just $5 a month, you get access to that live chat. And it really helps you support the show. Scott and I, we struggle like two struggling little sea turtles trying to make our way to sea. And all of your help goes a very, very long way.
Yeah. Don't step on us.
Scott's trying to figure out the sea turtle analogy I came up with.
Scott, we are doing a wrestling show, so I thought any sort of independent wrestler, like we work for tacos. No.
We struggle like somebody trying to make their way to the top of a ladder at the upcoming Money in the Bank ladder match, despite the fact that moments ago they were walking with no problem whatsoever.
Yeah. So current wrestling. So thank you to our PWP Patreon Palskis. All right. And also, you'll get a retribution name. Remember them?
Of course.
We sure do. All their masks are treasures that we didn't claim on this episode. So shame on us. AJ0314, a.k.a. Binary, Alex Pierce, a.k.a. Figs, Alice Raider, a.k.a. Invasion, Andrea Beeler, a.k.a. Pollen Hate, Ballista, a.k.a. Blue Balls, Brad from Tennessee, a.k.a. Dry Rub, Daniel Puerta, a.k.a. Knockers, Gilbert Short, a.k.a. Goliathon, Masked Llama, a.k.a. Spitz, Michael Beltran, a.k.a. Limestone, Miguel Diaz, a.k.a. Bipod, Pete Garit, a.k.a. Rhymes, Tim Bemis, a.k.a. War Trek, Tim Redbeard, a.k.a. Bloodfuzz, Tina Keys, a.k.a. Lockup, Tom Hader, a.k.a. Cupid, Tony Griggs, a.k.a. Big Griggs, Zach Ifuso, the champ, a.k.a. Fusebox, and Adrian was our newest, and now with a retribution name of Tiger.
Ooh, how is that spelled?
Tygrrr.
Yes. Oh, that sounds like an NWA wrestler for sure.
Look out for their eye of the
Tiger. I love it. Thank you so much to all of you for supporting the show. It really means a lot. It's incredibly well appreciated. And so please continue to do that. Also, you get all sorts of fun stuff. We got Watch Along Wednesdays. Scott, what did we recently watch?
It was the 5-year anniversary of the Final Deletion. So we watched the Final Deletion.
We got a lot of fun stuff coming up over in the bonus feed. So you're going to want to be a part of that. You can find all that at pwpalskis.com, where you can also find our shop. Do us a favor, leave us a rating review on Apple Podcasts, especially if you've never left one or you left one years and years ago. Just takes a moment to update that. Please do that. Find us on social media at pwpalskis. We don't bogart your entire feed with dumb shit.
Yeah, I just do that here in the plugs. Find me on social media at Scott Narver and check out On Your Mark. The latest episode is all about Vicky Guerrero. And I don't know if you know this, things have been problematic with Marquee Extreme lately, and he's got to be super nice during the episode. So it's pretty fun. So listen to that wherever you're listening to your favorite podcasts, and let us know if you want one of those Wrestling Compadres mic flags. Happy to send them.
A piece of Palski history right there. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jake Lloyd Bacon. That'll do it for this week's show. On behalf of the PWP, we want to thank you for tuning in. The Pro Wrestling Palskis. Hey everyone, Jake Lloyd here. I just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about my debut feature film, Pinch. Pinch is the story of two strangers brought together by the chance to own a rare and valuable sports collectible, but to do so, they're tasked with stepping out of their comfort zones and onto a baseball field. It is a story about love, family, how we define success, and how sometimes it's hard to look beyond our own insecurities. Pinch is what happens when the Sandlot grows up. I made Pinch with no budget, no crew, just a ton of heart, and I'm thrilled to share it with you. You can rent or buy it digitally on Amazon or watch completely free on Prime Video. Visit pinchmovie.com and follow @pinchmovie on Instagram for more info on this charming little indie movie that means so much to me. Thank you so much for listening to Dragon Wagon Radio. I appreciate your time. Now let's hear that awesome little network stinger that comes at the end of every show. Hey, you know what? That voice of the little network stinger, that's Tony Wayne, star of Pinch, now on Amazon. See what I did there? Okay, bye. I love you. Thank you so much. Pinchmovie.com.
It's Dragon Wagon.